Godzilla has had its ups and downs over the years, from its dark, critically acclaimed origins to the less favoured, more child-orientated films of the late Showa era. Everyone's got their own interpretation of what they believe is the golden age for Godzilla. Some love the darker stories, some love the light-hearted family features, and some prefer it when it's just monster chaos. I was introduced to Godzilla via the 1998 film, but even before that was released, there were films considered so bad they leave them out of Goji marathons, citing them as the black sheep of the Godzilla series. But I have a confession. These films are some of my favourites in the Godzilla franchise. I'm Alistair, and today I want to bring up how the most hated films in the Godzilla series deserve a second chance. I have three that I want to speak about, and the first is Godzilla Raids Again. The Japanese version, by the way. I can't speak for what the American dubs are like, I have not seen them. This is the definition of let them fight.
Let them fight.
The second film in the Godzilla franchise, released in 1955, and the first to feature Godzilla battling another giant monster. When two pilots crash land on a remote island, they witness a confrontation between Godzilla and a new kaiju called Anguirus, a spiky dinosaur-like creature. The monsters soon bring their battle to Osaka, laying waste to the city in a brutal final showdown. Demon Tribune described the film as amateurish, criticizing especially the acting, saying it's confined primarily to facial expressions in tight close-ups. Variety called it inept and tedious, and fans call it a pale, underwhelming follow-up to the original classic. Toho was fighting an uphill battle following the release of Gojira in 1954. How could they live up or even surpass the original? The answer is, you can't. So Raids Again was doomed from the beginning. But like I said, I really like Raids Again. It wasn't quite as dark as the original, but it still had its serious moments, and still delves into the themes of nuclear weaponry that the original did. It's not quite as slow, somber, or masterful as Ashiro Honda's predecessor, but despite that, it still understands the core themes of the original, and gives us more haunting images that relate back to the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings of 1945, and goes as far to show how the community comes together to rebuild following such a disaster. One thing it really has going for it is the camera work. Some of these shots here are really impressive and still portray the sheer scale of these massive monsters brilliantly. Though an error in the filmmaking process meant their movements are sometimes at twice the speed instead of slower. Though I actually think this actually helps make the battles feel even more vicious and animalistic, compared to the more choreographed fights of the future entries. The characters here are likable, and you want them to come out unharmed, and the film helps expand the fresh lore of the series and introduces everyone's favourite spiky boy, Anguirus, who at this point was Godzilla's natural enemy. And I do actually like the designs this time around. Godzilla's more nimble than the thicker original, but has grown even more Japanese dragon-like features. Raids Again manages to offer a tight, entertaining follow-up, delivering a satisfying amount of kaiju battles. There is an odd subplot following some escaped prisoners, which I've seen being a point of contention. Though they aren't pointless, they are the reason Godzilla didn't leave following the military's attempt to use flares to lure the beast away. It's just a solid entry in the Godzilla series that laid the groundwork for all future sequels, even though it would be 7 years before another Godzilla film would be made. And despite its criticism, much of which is valid, I think it's a solid sequel. Expands the lore, offers some fun characters, has some great vicious monster battles, and features similar ingenuity that would later be seen in films like -1, where everyone comes together to defeat this overwhelming threat. That's why, to me, I think it's underrated and deserves another chance. The second film I want to talk about came 12 years after Raids Again, and that is Son of Godzilla, the film that brought us possibly the most hideous Godzilla suit of all time, though it did have a reason for looking like that, which I'll bring up later. The film has scientists conducting weather experiments on a remote island, inadvertently attracting Godzilla. There, they discover a young, playful Godzilla-like creature named Minilla, who begins to bond with Godzilla, who adopts Minilla as his son. As giant insects like Kamacuras and Kumonga threaten the island, Godzilla trains and protects Minilla, showing a surprising paternal side. critiqued for being too childish, lacking character development, and I think what it's hated for now more than anything, Manila. For me, this film is just a joy to watch. I love it for the exact opposite reason as something like Gojira or -1. It's lighthearted, funny, and just an outright charming experience. While Son of Godzilla is often dismissed as a silly kids movie, it actually still reflects deeper themes from 1960s Japan, especially the changing roles of fathers and the relationship between generations. Godzilla raising Manila mirrors Japan's shift from strict traditional parenting to a more nurturing modern approach. That's why his suit looks the way it does. They wanted to give the suit more human features to properly relay that message. But yes, it is ugly, but I kind of like its goofiness. The film also touches on the dangers of unchecked science, as weather experiments go wrong and mutate the island's creatures, reflecting fears of technological overreach. Beneath the playful tone, it's a story about legacy, responsibility, and the impact of human interference with nature. But above all that, we get to see Godzilla being more than a terrifying force of nature. We see him in another light, where his intelligence truly shines as he tries to raise a little king of the monsters. Seeing Manila jumping over Godzilla's tail, or even when he tries to teach him how to use his atomic breath, is just so joyous. And that ending brings a tear to my eye every time. It's such a heartwarming film, and it's one I actually can never believe is at the bottom of most people's lists. If you can look past the ugly designs and the kid-friendly tone, then you're gonna have a great time. Now next up, what do you get when you take the political messaging of the original, some of the more lighthearted elements of the later Showa films, and just drop a ton of acid? Yes, you get Godzilla vs. Hedorah, also known as Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. This film pits the king of the monsters against one of the strangest and most symbolic foes ever put to screen. Hedorah, a toxic shape-shifting alien born from Earth's pollution. As Hedorah feeds on industrial waste and spreads poisonous gas across Japan, humanity finds itself helpless until Godzilla rises to stop the ecological menace. Known for its psychedelic visuals, eerie tone, and strong environmental message, the film stands out as one of the most experimental entries in the Godzilla series, blending horror, sci-fi, and surreal animation. According to the production accounts, most Japanese critics largely ignored this film. Those who reviewed it were almost uniformly negative. Vincent Canby in the New York Times called it the most blatant of all pollution pictures. He criticized that despite the film's environmental message, it lacked subtlety and probably wouldn't inspire any real activism. It got the director, Yoshimitsu Banno, blacklisted from making another Godzilla film at Toho, and it was even included in the 50 worst films of all time, where they called it an idiotic kiddie show. To me, Godzilla vs. Hedorah is a time capsule into another era, a time where traditionalism was going out the window in favor of more free and open ways of life. It's filled to the brim with trippy visuals, non-contemporary ideas, experimental imagery, and hard political messaging. From a filmmaking standpoint, I find it just fascinating. Yoshimitsu Banno conceived Godzilla vs. Hedorah as a metaphor for Japan's widespread industrial pollution and its associated health issues, like Yokkaichi asthma during the late 1960s. But not only that, it has loads of great monster scenes, and as I spoke about in a recent video, some pretty terrifying moments where it just doesn't hold back on the horrors of toxic pollution. We see people dissolving into skeletons, and a baby being covered in sludge, and even more devastating, a cat. I hope that cat came out alright. Hedorah is also just a super cool monster. We get to see it transform from a tadpole-like creature to a quadruped blob of goop, before evolving a flying form, spewing toxic gas, and finally at the most recognizable bipedal form that terrorizes Japan. Its methods of attack are just super unique and gave us the iconic scene where Godzilla gets covered in shit. I rewatched this film recently with some of my friends at the Barbican with their outdoor film festival, and they also really liked it, and didn't even know Godzilla films could be like this. Me and the director of Godzilla vs. Kong, Adam Wingard, also bonded over this, as we both agree it's one of our favorites. This is one that I think is changing to be more favored over the years, becoming a true cult classic. and deservingly so. This one is awesome if you want a less traditional Godzilla film. These three films, in my opinion, just show the sheer range the King of the Monsters has. Over the 16 years these films released, Godzilla changed completely, offering something unique in each entry. The subtext changed entirely from being a metaphor for nuclear bombs to representing important topics at the time. And that's why these films are still being regarded as important to this very day. They're just as significant now as they were when they released. So go give them a watch. If it's your first time, go in with an open mind, and if you're returning, just give it another chance. You might enjoy it. What Godzilla film do you think deserves a second chance? Let us know in the comment section down below. Give this video a big Kong-sized like if you want more videos like this. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you residents in the next one.